Okay, so Mr. Heist, are you on this call?
I am.
Okay, Mr. Heist, do you accept your nomination for Libertarian National Committee Chair?
I do.
Okay, you have up to 5 minutes to speak to that nomination. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay. I want to start off first by saying thank you and express my gratitude to Angela McArdle, who led this party to the biggest federal victories that we've ever had, led to the freeing of Ross Ulbright, and proving the concept that this party really can be effective for liberty in real life at the national level when nobody else has been able to do that in the entire party's history. And she did it on a 2-year time frame with a vision that was completely her own and built from scratch. So, Angela, we love you. Thank you. We are grateful and we're happy to have you in the halls of power, extending that influence for liberty in real life. And I also want to add that I did not want to seek a nomination tonight. I did want to have a process of going around to the region, speaking with people, as I have already done for the Project Decentralized Revolution strategy, and was hoping to have an open process with the members. But I guess this is the best that I'm going to get. So what I will say is that while these guys have been on the board talking about how they're going to do the fundraising and how they're going to do elections and how they're going to do legislative stuff, I've been building it. They have passed my vision, but in a year unanimous vote called Project Decentralized Revolution, focusing on local level elections, focusing on issue coalitions. I have plans for all manner of strategies that are just as detailed. And I know many of you have seen those presentations because while this board sits on the national committee, they don't really come around to the states. And I have come around to most of the states and opened up a dialogue about how national and state can work together to forward our electoral success and our legislative success. I have developed in detail, in the same detail as Project Decentralized Revolution, aspects of our communication strategy, aspects of our data strategy, of our fundraising strategy, our legislative strategy, our election strategy. And that is why I have been working with staff. And working with staff has been an absolute eye-opener for me in this party, because while everyone sees all of this ugliness that you're seeing tonight on this board, the wins that happen all the time with our staff are not reported on. We barely see the LNC in the staff meetings. And so when you're looking at the board and you see all of this ugliness and all of this fighting and all of this hostility and all of this bickering and not a focus on the things that we need to share to move together, that is happening every single day in the staff and it's not reported on. And I promise to work with that staff to make sure those wins are spoken more loudly and focused on, because that's what we need to be doing to white people to further engage in our party. We don't have enough good news for us to move forward with. And so we have to have good news based on a sound strategy that can actually win and comport with political reality if we're going to do anything with the party, such as Angela McArdle. So I will be happy to answer your questions. If I am nominated tonight, I promise you I will, before fully assuming the role and fully forming the duties, to get around to all of you, to all of the regions, and answering your questions directly, as I already have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heist. Right on time. Fantastic. All right, LNC members, please raise your virtual hands, and we will go ahead and proceed with questions to Mr. Heist. The first up here on the left-hand side is Ms. Harlos. Ms. Harlos?
Hi, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Heise. I noticed that your opening speech certainly mentioned legitimate accomplishments of the former chair. But to me, it went a bit overboard. And I'm wondering your opinion as to the depths or whatever of it. We have an investigatory committee for it, but there's public records already that, at least to me, seem to indicate, and let's just take them as true for sake of argument, even if you don't think they're true. What would you think if a chair, after being told by the LNC that they did not wish to continue to have the appearance of nepotism, the very next month signed a contract without informing the LNC that the owner of the company was in fact their domestic partner? And there's a second part to that. As chair, went and raised upwards of $1 million that didn't go to the LNC, that in fact went to elect candidates or candidate and their supporters of another party. You don't, I'm asking if you do, I don't want to lead a question. Do you find that to be a breach of either the duty of fiduciary, the duty of care, or the duty of loyalty? All of those are in fact legal duties of this body. Thank you.
Sure, I'm just flat out not going to speculate on things that are under investigation or comment on them. And I think that asserting things like that or asserting guilt on things like that prior to an investigation, if they end up being wrong, could end up actually being libelous. So I'm not going to be commenting on that. I don't think that's an appropriate question either.
Okay, really quickly, we're going to rein it in here. We're not going to comment on the appropriateness of questions or responses. I will remind everyone on this call, including the LNC, that while it is agendized for questions, the committee has not been formed. There's nothing currently under investigation, just to be clear. Okay, Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hello, Mr. Heise. Sorry, I was muted. Can you answer the same question I asked Mr. Nicola? What is your financial situation independent of the LP?
Sure. So I'm working multiple jobs, and however, though, I would not be doing chair unless I could do it full time and full throttle. So, I do have the support of members of the party, donors to the party, who want to see me carry out my vision full time because they saw that the first time I did that, I was very, very effective at fundraising, at bringing people into the party, at carrying out and executing on my plans. So, they want to see that again. And, so if I get the chair, I would be carrying through with that.
I'm confused about what you mean by that. Are you saying that they would donate to you to pay you to be chair?
Yeah, there are supporters that want to finance me to be chair because they want to see this vision.
And why have they not donated to the party?
They are donors to the party, but I mean, I can't speak to all of their financial decisions either, but they are donors to the party.
Would they be upping their donations to the party in addition to donating to you as chair?
I have no idea.
Okay. Do you find that conflicts at all with your duty to what your duty to the LNC would be, to take money from donors to finance your position as chair rather than allow that money to go to the LNC itself?
I don't think I'd be allowing anything. I think people fund what they want to fund. So if they're already donors to the party, they're members, they're supporters, they want to see a chair be full time to carry out a vision and support that vision. So I think that's great. I mean, I think the fact that we have a membership that is so passionate about something like this, that they would do that for me, just the way they send in hundreds of emails in support, I think that's great. And so I think as long as you are maintaining the fiduciary responsibility that was talked before, and you are at the front of the line carrying out that mission, that's a great thing. We should want our chair to be full time.
Sure. Would you be disclosing the names of all these donors on your conflicts form?
I would disclose the names of all of the donors as soon as the board disclosed the names of everyone that signs their checks.
Okay, that's a problem for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Thank you, Mr. Heise. We will move on to Mr. Watkins.
Yes, Mr. Heise, how do you view the culture of the LNC specifically? Do you think it's healthy or unhealthy? And if you, how would you plan on having a cohesive LNC if elected?
I'll answer that. I'm going to kind of also answer the question that I'm sure is coming of like unifying the party, like how would I intend to unify the party? As far as the culture of the board, I mean, I think it's on display pretty good tonight. Shutting down debate, shutting down comments from the public, talking about how, oh, well, we already know what the vibe is, and then not mentioning what was in all the hundreds of emails and all that kind of stuff. There just seems to be like I don't know, a reticence to actually hear from the members or like give any credibility to the members. And I also think there's just a lack of, and I want to credit Steve for this point, a lack of direction. Like if you don't have goals, then it's hard to define a direction. It's hard to create a map from here to there. And so it is great that those goals were set, but I'm not exactly seeing any action from the board to carry out those goals, which again is why working with staff has been absolutely eye-opening, because on the board it's just like nightmare after nightmare, negativity after negativity, and then you get into the staff meetings and it's good news after good news after good news after good news. And everybody talks about the board stuff, but nobody ever talks about the staff stuff. So I find that to be very unfortunate. So how I would intend to unify the party is how I had already done it before, frankly, is I don't think you can unify for the sake of unification. I think what you have to do is the best that you can do is cast a vision, be at the front of the lines executing on that vision, do your best to find a place for everybody to be in that vision, and let the fruits of acting that vision out speak for themselves and motivate people to come in behind you. And then to the extent that people don't want to be involved or don't want to, get on board with that mission, then, encourage them to form their own vision and compete. And we have a friendly competition of those visions that is based on productivity and expanding the interest of the party. And I think I have done that with what I have with the strategies that I built, not just Project Decentralized Revolution, but the issue coalition strategies and the teams that I've already stood up, the various teams that I've already stood up, and I'm in the process of standing up that cover issues and give people multiple methods of expanding liberty in real life, whether it's electorally or legislatively.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins and Mr. Heise. We'll move over. Mr. Weir, have you gone this round? I don't believe you have.
I have not, no.
We'll go Mr. Weir.
Yeah, Mr. Heise, you may have already answered this, but I was curious. This is kind of a two-part question. So the first part would be, if you were elected as chair, you had mentioned somebody potentially funding you in order to do that. Does that mean that you would be forfeiting your contract with the LP?
Oh, yes, absolutely. 100%.
Okay,
I don't want any, just to be clear, I have a plan with that too. And this is, I think, a key difference between myself and Steve. So if I can just answer this before you ask the next one. Absolutely, 100%. I would be renouncing my salary. I would not be accepting any money or taking any contracts from the party or seeking to do so. And a key difference that I have with Steve is that I actually don't think the thing that we need to do is hire a fundraiser. I think the complexities of our situation are too much to hire a fundraiser and then just kind of drop them into the data and that we do have and say, all right, get to work. I think it's a lot more complex than that. I would want to make a hire and in effect, it would help fundraising. What I would want to hire, I would want to aggregate my salary with the salary that was cut from the call contract and hire somebody to oversee our initiatives, because I believe that fundraising is based on value. And I think we have to offer value to people, especially people who are high dollar and successful people who have high standards for themselves that led them to be successful. We have to really come to them with a palette of value offers in the form of an electoral strategy, of a ballot access strategy, of a legislative strategy that are active. So I would want to hire somebody to oversee those initiatives, because I believe that the initiatives being volunteer efforts are the single greatest point of failure. So if we have somebody working them and making sure they're productive, making sure they're producing good news, Defend the Guard passed 3 state committees this week, and we haven't even talked about it. So like things like that we then take to the donors, I think that is how we do it. And in effect, the fundraising should be driven by the chair. I think the chair should then take that, be the networker in chief, and try to be the biggest fundraiser in the party. And that would be my goal, is to be that networker in chief, especially given the fact that, Steve had said he didn't have the connections. Well, I do. I have the support of the biggest voices in the libertarian movement who have been huge drivers of recruitment. I'm friends with Dave Smith. I'm maintaining a friendship with Angela, who has carved out a network into the halls of power that include RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel. And we should be looking to expand into those networks, increase our power and influence so that we can use it for liberty. And I think I have those in ways that others don't.
Yeah. So the second part to that question was, I appreciate you answering that, by the way. I just wanted to ask, so since you had mentioned you're going to be funded by, people that are obviously Libertarian Party members, but they'll basically be saying like, hey, we'll front your bills if you do this. Doesn't that kind of mean that you're going to be obligated to uphold their interests since they're kind of funding your agenda? Are you willing to kind of just?
No,
Okay.
Because the money would be up front, and I have made it very clear what my intentions would be. And I think since I serve at the pleasure of the board, if I was somehow, one day hyper focusing on Project Decentralized Revolution and issue coalitions and data and all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm doing something crazy, I think it would be obvious, and then the board would have that option to remove me and do what they had to do at that point anyway. So no, I don't think so. I think the whole point is to one, have the money up front so that it can't be like a breadcrumb trail to do what you're describing, and it's an investment into my vision.
Thank you.
Again, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you answering my question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weir. Thank you, Mr. Heise. We are going to skip Ms. Harless for right now, just because she kicked us off. We'll go to Mr. Lamb and then Mr. Dar and Ms. Yanuskavich, and we'll circle back around. So the virtual hand will get tired again. Mr. Lamb?
Oh, Mr. Heise, I'm very excited to speak with you. Unfortunately, like I indicated earlier, was not looking forward to you being nominated or anyone, quite frankly. So I just would like to hear more specifically why that you think you would be a better chair over Mr. Amash, who had been floated quite heavily on social media. Of course, we've spoken with Mr. Nikela. I think we've heard from him quite extensively. So please, if you don't mind answering.
Absolutely. Yeah. So going off of some of Amash's public statements around the idea of running for chair, he has this concept of, well, we need to make the party electorally successful. And I suspect what he means by that is federal level elections. And we've been saying that and trying that for 50 years and getting 1% or less over and over and over again, or, maybe we'll get 5% here or there or something like that with some of our federal level candidates. And I just don't think that is a strategy that has any data to suggest that there's success in it. And I think that given that we are a third party and that we have very, very, very scarce resources in time, energy, money, and manpower, that we have to economize those resources into the highest value propositions that we could possibly get. And when you examine the data, what those high value propositions are very, very clear. And that is local level elections with teeth, that is the issue coalitions, and that is ballot access. And so we can maximize our efforts around those things that have a consistent pattern of success across time within the Libertarian Party, and then use that to create the value that we then use to inform a data strategy to target big donors and then start to cultivate the networks there. Just a commentary on fundraising. I don't think there's going to be a magic bullet for fundraising, and I don't think the fundraising is going to be fixed anytime soon, because unfortunately, I think fundraising is only going to be fixed at the speed of relationship cultivation, which is why I think the chair needs to be full time to be the networker in chief. So, kind of bringing that back around to your Justin Amash question, while I think Justin Amash could certainly raise the profile, in a sense, I also have serious questions about his tactical outlook and his strategic outlook, given that he went from being, the vanguard of political liberty in our country to, being out of office and standing by the Mueller report. And now all of a sudden he's out of office. Thomas Massie is one of the most popular legislators in the country. Rand Paul is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, sorry. And, so they're gaining in power and influence while he has waned. And at the same time, the Libertarian Party itself has gained in power and influence and is freeing prisoners, which I don't think is a strategy that he saw value in and would want to go backwards from that. I would not. So I think there's a lot of reasons there. But not to say that there wouldn't be benefits and that I don't have the utmost respect for Justin Amash. I think Justin Amash could be best served at leading the party by being a candidate and is probably the person best positioned in the country to win a federal race as a libertarian.
Thank you, Mr. Heise.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Thank you, Mr. Heise. We will move over to Mr. Dar. Mr. Dar, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Heise, same question that I asked of Mr. Nikela. Who did you support publicly for president in the general election?
Sure. Yeah, I supported Trump and voted Libertarian down the ballot. I think voting is a tactical value, right? And how that worked in my state was that the people that I voted for down ballot did more for ballot access than president. So in effect, I voted to free Ross, and I got what I wanted out of that because of the new strategy that was in place. And I've never gotten anything for voting for, in terms of liberty in real life, from voting for president before. So I understand the criticism of that, or how that might sound strange, but I think it hurts the Libertarian Party very badly to demand absolute partisanship. And I don't think it's an attractive message to people that we would want to bring into the party. Because first of all, we don't want them to be partisans. You know what I mean? Like, we're asking them to leave the Democrat Party. We're asking them to be the Republican Party. So if we say, hey, you can't be a partisan over there, but you have to be a partisan over here. Only when you're a partisan over here, there might only be 1 or 2 people on your ballot, and there's a very low chance of you winning. It's just not a very attractive message. I don't think it does much to build trust among society, which is something that we don't talk enough about. We talk a lot about our principles and stuff like that, but we have got to build trust in society to effectuate those principles. So I think the partisan demand is very unattractive to that.
And as a question, I thought as others asked questioning, as far as your needing to self-fund yourself through fundraising, how will you handle the inherent conflict of interest of needing to fundraise for yourself and the party at the same time?
Well, one, I would already have those donors in hand, so I wouldn't be out fundraising for myself. It would be an agreement that is already being worked out if this opportunity should present itself. So that would already be, because the whole point isn't for me to overburden myself and have to worry over here and take care of the party over there. It's to fuel my vision. So in that sense, I would be full-time, and I would be continuing on the data research that I've already been doing, the data program that has already been in place, and continuing that to start to form relationships with the targets that have already come out of the data research. And I'd be happy to talk more about that if anyone wants to ask me about it.
Thank you, Mr. Dar, and thank you, Mr. Heise. We will move to Ms. Yanuskavich.
Okay, Mr. Heise, I have a few questions. The first, being that I am on the EPCC, I'm wondering if you are elected chair this evening, have you given any thought to who will, and you said that you would be, resigning from your contractor position, how your functions would be picked up, given our limited staff at this time and limited funds?
Yeah, I described this earlier. Just the way that Steve said that he wants to make a hire for like a professional fundraiser, I also would want to make a hire, but not for a fundraiser. I would want to hire somebody to oversee our initiatives, because this might be this goes into something deeper than the question might seem. Essentially, what I have built out is an iterative process to build out the fundraising program, because I fundamentally believe, as I said earlier, that I think that our fundraising problems as a party are too complex for one person to just kind of come in and say, oh, well, who was given money 3 years ago and isn't now? That person might be liable to get their head screwed off by whoever they called. I think it's too complex. So essentially what I went out to do was create the support materials that make volunteering for the initiatives as easy as possible. Those initiatives then serve as the food, the value that we offer for the fundraising. So then the game was to create the skeleton for all of these initiatives and then get them stood up so that we have a palette of value to offer to the fundraisers or the prospective donors. And then from there, work the data program so that we can target high dollar donors and go really deep into research of their wealth background, so that we could create a profile and find a pattern within their data to then form the basis of a marketing campaign to those people. And then I, as the chair, would be the one going to them. So yes, I would be doing that. I would hire somebody to oversee those initiatives, because again, I think the initiatives being a volunteer effort is the greatest single point of failure, and also is the value that upholds the fundraising in the first place. If you're not offering value, you're not going to be getting money from high value people.
And do you think this would be revenue neutral in terms of the amount of money that we were spending toward freedom calls?
I'm not exactly sure how much money it was spending towards freedom calls, but I think I've heard that the contract was like $4,000 a month. So that comes out to what, like $48,000 a year. Let's put it this way. I have a pile more of data research to do. I have already identified 160 people who would be targets for max value donations. Now, that's not to say we're going to get all of them, and it's going to move at the speed of relationship cultivation. But if we get even 5% of that, we are going to be, 5 timesing, 6 timesing the number of max donors that we have now. One max donor is 41,000. So yes, I think if we do this and it works, that we would be making more money. I just think it's going to be, again, at the speed of relationship cultivation.
Okay, have you implemented any of these initiatives to receive max donors at this time?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of standing up the last 2 of them. And again, the whole point in this iterative process is you want to have them stood up so that you can provide the value. So really going to the donors within this framework is kind of the last thing. You have to set up all of that framework. So I have stood up the candidate support team. Aaron Lamb is chairing it as the most successful elected in the country, as far as I'm aware of. So he is doing that. I had elected or recruited about 40 people to help make phone calls to all of the past elected libertarians to get to try to hit the goals that you guys had passed in August. To try to get as many number of people running for local level office. He's also working to call up all of the elected libertarians that we have that serve in these types of seats, these with seats, so that we can try to get them legislation for nullification, make sure they even understand nullification, and that we can create a feedback mechanism of, as our electeds are in office and producing liberty legislation, that we even know about it. Because right now we don't even know what our electeds are doing or what the good news of their service is, so that we can then report on that and generate more white pills for people to engage with. So that was the first thing I did. And then I set up the Defend the Guard team. The Defend the Guard team, has been killing it. They were knocking doors in Maryland. They've Defend the Guard has passed committee in 3 states this week. So that is killing it. That provides another. Oh, I'm gonna have to veer off again. That provides another avenue for the fundraising that I'll get into. So then the next thing was to stand up the Sound Money team to support legalization of gold and silver and Bitcoin at the state level. As well as a psychedelics team, so that we're covering our bases of left and right to reach out to. And if I may go off course a little bit on fundraising again, the issue coalitions are very, very key, another key way for us to handle fundraising, because the data that we have, the membership data that we have, people tell us when they become members or renew their membership to what 3 issues they're passionate about. So if the more of these issue coalitions you have, the more you can chop that data up by their own professed value in those issues. So if we have an active psychedelics thing, all the people who said, oh, drug war, boom, that's my issue. We then can go out and call those people, and we can sort that data because it's FEC compliant by occupation and employer. So we can start with the lawyers first. And that is something that we can hire fundraisers for, I think. So the more of those issue coalitions, the more you can do that. We did try to do that with Matt Butts, but he didn't last long.
Right. So how close are we to making those calls and getting some money back from those efforts?
Well, the next thing, like I said, is standing up the psychedelic teams and the Sound Money teams. I am doing this part-time, so it's hard at 20 a week, 20, when you're doing the job of standing up the electoral strategy and the legislative strategy and the data strategy and all of this, it's pretty hard to do, part-time. So I would say within a couple of months, but I have also started the process of developing support materials, or marketing materials for those targets.
Okay. And I'm asking because, the Kennedy Victory Fund will be ending here in the near future, and we will need to do something to replace that income. So I'm sure you're aware that board members are required to report any potential conflicts of interest publicly. If you got the job tonight, for example, what conflicts would you be reporting tomorrow?
None.
Or this week?
Yeah, I don't have any conflicts of interest. I know there was concern about one contract that I had for 3 months with the American Values PAC. But as a contractor, I can contract with multiple places. I know I've talked to the FEC about it. I know the legal spoke with you guys about it, or at least you, Kathy, that is not a conflict of interest. But I suspect that would be brought up, and I'm okay with that. American Values is a nonpartisan organization that's looking at perhaps supporting libertarian candidates in the future, and I would love to maintain a relationship with them as chair to that effort. And I know Larry Sharp was over there working, and in fact, I had a conversation with Larry Sharp recently about coming back and doing some ballot access fundraising for the party.
Well, sure, and you and I've had this conversation. I mean, I was concerned about that not being reported. Potential. The issue is the potential conflict of interest.
It was reported. I told you personally, so I did report it.
Yes, you did, but you did not report it to the board, and I
reported it to you. I reported it to the chair. I reported it to multiple members of the board. I sought counsel from the FEC. They said it wasn't a conflict of interest. I know you spoke with legal. They said it wasn't a conflict of interest. So I don't know what there is to what the issue is.
Right. Well, it was my understanding until last week or so that there was an addendum to your contract regarding it, and you did not sign that apparently, or it was not offered to you.
Yeah, I did not receive any such thing.
Okay.
But yeah.
So it is your. I understand from your answers to Meredith's questions that you don't feel that you would have to report any potential conflicts of interest based on income received from people who may or may not be current donors to the LP, but who are wanting to fund your vision. Is that correct?
Well, I don't. You threw the word conflict of interest in there. I don't know where that is coming from. No, what I said was that I would be willing to disclose the names of the people funding me as soon as everybody on the board discloses the names of who signs their checks.
Well,
so I would do it, but I would want you to do it too first.
Well, yeah, I'm not getting any income. I'm retired.
Well, all right, with one down.
Okay,
We're one down. Now we need the rest.
Can we agree that someone who receives their income from Wendy's, for example, is different from somebody receiving income from donors of the party?
No, I think business runs on private investment.
Sure, but there's a
libertarian
requirement
capitalist
to reveal those. I mean,
no, there's no requirement for that.
You don't believe that there's a requirement to
yeah, no, if I'm just the same way that you don't have to know the people who sign my checks. Sure, it's Wendy's, but who signs the checks? Who sends, you know what I mean? So like, I don't think it's different. I think you're trying to make it different. And I think you're motivated to make it different. But I think the situation in the party is that this is a tactic that is used, that the logical conclusion is that we are either only going to have destitute chairs or we're going to have independently wealthy chairs. And basically cut off the pool of available talent, or part-time chairs. Sorry, that's the third option, part-time chairs. So if we want a full-time chair, I think we've got to stop, treating like people making money as this like weird thing or this bad thing. It's a good thing. We're capitalists. We want to make money. We want people to succeed. We want people to have thriving families and be able to work hard doing it. I don't understand.
Well, I think that's a mischaracterization. I think that there's a big difference. I'm all for.
But then why is this like a probing thing? I don't understand.
Because we are currently dealing with some conflict of issue.
Yeah, but that is allegedly about a contract that was not disclosed. This would be completely private with nothing to do with the party.
Okay, well, that is what I am trying to understand. If you think,
no, I stated that I would not be taking money from the party. I would not be seeking money from the party. I would not be seeking contract. This would be completely between me and people who want to make sure that all of the details that I have explained in this conversation that have not been explained anywhere else, no vision like what I just explained has been explained anywhere else, can be done to the fullest of their capacity, while also maintaining the networks and connections that Angela has forged, and also that I have on my own through the Liberty movement. So I think I offer something very unique in that we should be happy that there are people who are so passionate to make that full time, because I haven't heard it from anywhere else. I haven't seen it.
And just for the record, I am not against people making money in capitalism and so forth, but
thank you.
We do have conflict of interest rules and reporting of potential conflicts. And there's a difference between receiving that money and not. And that being a great idea and reporting that.
Right, but this is why. So, like, for example, one thing I would do as chair is we have an attorney on retainer. We can just ask his opinion. Hey, is getting private funding to be chair, a conflict of interest? Like this isn't something like this is a CNN tactic that's being used right now. And I think the people who see this video are going to understand that.
Well, we'll see. I'm watching some comments in another chat, and I don't think it's being taken that way. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yanuskevich. Thank you, Mr. Heise. We will move to Mr. Ford, then we will circle back around. I think we're back at the beginning here. So Mr. Ford will be the last of the original comments, I believe, or first time around.
I'm going to pass for right now.
Okay. All right. I will put your hand down for right now. Please feel free to raise it again. Ms. Harless.
Okay, this is going to be a multi part. I have to just tell you personally, which will be no surprise to you, that I believe that a staff member endorsing Trump was already a huge problem, and defending that as a chair candidate, I believe, is unconscionable. I'm wondering if you're aware that the bylaws actually do require the LNC to be partisan, and basically what you were advocating was against the bylaws. So I would like your opinion on that. Job of a presiding officer is to respect the rules of the party. The second thing I'd like you to address, that's been touched on by, I think, multiple people, is when the LP is your job and it's not coming from directly from the LP. For instance, if we were blessed enough to be able to pay LNC members, but from outside donors, losing those donors, it's a temptation that we've seen already. I think some bad fruit of that's from public records. And I note that you refuse to answer that question before. Do you believe it's the job, and this kind of circles back to the bylaws, of the chair to support the national candidate, even if you don't like them? And one correction, I actually spoke with Mr. Amash, and I do not believe you properly characterized his beliefs. I'm not saying it was intentional, but he certainly does believe in running local candidates and focusing on local races.
Yeah, I also have had conversations with him, and what I was told is that nobody cares about local. I mean, granted, this was a few years ago, but I do think it's a significant difference. But I'm sorry, there was like 2 or 3 questions. Can you?
Yeah, sure. So
would I follow the rules of supporting the candidate? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on the board. If I was on the board, of course, I would have to follow the rules, and I think the chair and the board did.
Oh, you think the chair properly supported Chase Oliver under the bylaws? Is that your opinion?
Yes, I think that is.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, that's disqualifying. Thank you.
I think suing the LNC is disqualifying.
Yeah, I think attacking LNC members that are asking you questions is too, but that's your opinion.
Let's stop here. Okay, we're going to move on to, we have Ms. Hayes and then Mr. Watkins. Ms. Hayes, I believe you're muted if you're speaking.
Oh, my apologies, Mr. Heise. I wanted to ask, you've been working, you mentioned psilocybin or psychedelics. Defend the Guard, I believe, is one of your projects as well. PDR. Can you speak a little bit, like, for example, about how local races went for you guys, or for you, from your perspective, anything that you worked on this last election cycle, as well as Defend the Guard and any sort of psychedelic measures?
Sure. So defend the elections, I can't really speak to. I know Michigan had some very good results. I think another guy was elected in Maryland, but at that point in time of like last election, at that point I was standing up the support materials for the different initiatives, and I was hired at like the end of 24, so it was very, very difficult to be able to stand up a program to support the candidates. And knowing what I was saying earlier about the kind of the iterative process of you create the materials, then you create the initiatives, and then you do the data research, and then you go out and start to create the relationship. I focused on that instead, and that's what I was hired to do, and what I explained in a document before I was ever hired.
Can you explain to me? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I did that. Defend the Guard is going very, very well. I mean, as you guys know, last cycle that it had, passed multiple state houses, multiple state senates, multiple state committees. The phone banking efforts of that had just started recently in the past 3 committees. I believe Pete Hegseth has restated his interest in it. I know I called a state senator here that was interested in it, let her know the good news so we could try to push it forward here. And I think I called and got together, I think about 20 people for that particular team, and also have them volunteering with Bring Our Troops Home. So a key effort of these issue coalition strategies is to not be working in isolation, but to be working with outside groups that are focused on these issues, so that we can really be effective and form those coalitions, and again build that trust and branch out into these new networks to start talking with people and build trust. So
Just a clarifying question for my, because I'm ignorant on this. When you keep using the term standing up, what are you talking about with that? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So you when you create the initiatives, first you have to create a skeleton of okay, what's the end goal? What are the tactics employed? What do we want to do? Can we fundraise off it? What would be the fundraising goals of those tactics? Who are we going to work with? What's the name of the campaign? Can we get the URL for that campaign? So that's the first thing. You have to build the skeleton. And then once you have all of that, then you can start the process of calling people and explaining that skeleton to them and getting them aboard and getting their volunteers. And then once you have the volunteers together, then you have to, start the process of having their first meeting and getting their efforts together. Maybe we have to have them rank order the different tasks at hand, so that you can start to delegate those tasks by passion to the people who are involved in doing it. So, that is the process of standing up, and I've been doing.
Got it.
That's what I've been doing. So did that for doing it for Project Decentralized Revolution was a bear. And that was always going to be the toughest one, because I did, these kinds of interviews with state parties across the country, trying to explain the whole thing. And I had to develop that presentation that's an hour long, so that was always the electoral strategy. Being the most detailed and nuanced one was always going to be the hardest one. And then you bang out the issue coalitions, and then I've also simultaneously worked on some of this data stuff, so that we could have at least some targets, right now. And then there's, when you're doing the data research, patterns emerge in the data that you're looking for, that constitute the basis of a marketing campaign to that data. So then that has to be developed. This is all very complex stuff. I don't think it's as simple as oh, we're just going to get a fundraiser. Nobody has explained this kind of detail. That's the thing that's so shocking to me, is that I've come up with all of this, and the people on the board have not been doing the fundraising, and I've been developing all of this, and no one's come to the staff meeting and even knows about it.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. We will go to Mr. Watkins now.
Yeah, just to touch back on potential conflict of interest with, private donors donating to you. There have been previous members of the LNC and possibly current members of the LNC that both receive donations from members of the party or have donated to members of the party. Do you see that as different than private donors donating?
No. And specifically, I remember when there was an effort to stop Karen Ann Harless from receiving Patreon supporters, and that was a big fight, and she fought to preserve those Patreon supporters, and I fought with her to support those Patreon influencers, because I believe in us making money. I believe in us having everything that we need to pursue our passions in this party, because we need it. We're so resource deprived, we're so manpower deprived that we need it. And I would fight for Karen Ann again, even though we have parted ways for that, because it's just the right thing. We need it.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Thank you, Mr. Heise. Mr. Lamb.
Yes, unfortunately, Mr. Watkins has taken my own question. I understand that both Secretary Ms. Harlos as well as the outgoing chair had both taken Patreon donations. So that was my main question regarding the conflict of interest with the donations regarding individuals that had chose to give to their Patreons. So thank you, Mr. Heise, for answering that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. We will move to Ms. Harless again.
Okay, where you say you don't see a difference, since you invoked my name, I didn't really intend upon speaking again. One thing, you don't see a difference between people paying you to enact your vision as chair, and people who are just supporting a channel that has absolutely nothing to do with supporting what I do as secretary. I don't claim it's to support any vision as secretary. And in fact,
I don't draw the distinction. I think you should be getting
okay.
support
We
for
uninterrupt.
whatever you
Let's
need.
uninterrupt.
Yeah, I
question.
was still.
Everyone stop. Everyone stop. Let's not interrupt question askers or question takers. So, Ms. Harless, please finish, and then Mr. Heise, please give your uninterrupted answer, but let the question play out, please.
Yeah, I have to say that I do see a difference between who's paying somebody's day job or who's paying for somebody's whatever other kind of income they do. And I'm like, Kathy, I firmly believe in capitalism. But if you are specifically saying that they're paying you to be chair, that is different than somebody getting paid to serve the best chili on earth or to deliver up content, where they're poking fun at Matt Walsh. It's much different if I was asking to get paid as secretary. If I was asking to get paid as secretary, I would disclose every single person that paid, because that is something that is directly related to the LP that could cause undue influence. So I would like you to explain why you don't think it's different. And to explain your understanding, or if you're aware, don't say go ask the attorney. I'm asking your particular opinion of the duty to disclose that's in our policy manual. And that is just in general nonprofit duty law. And if you familiarize yourself at all with that, like any articles on the duties of nonprofit boards.
So as far as the first question, I think it's an arbitrary distinction because it all goes to the same pile. Whether or not your Patreon is about knitting or your secretarial work, you are in fact the secretary, and you have the same bills regardless. So you are getting paid and you are being the secretary. You're getting grassroots support. So I mean, are you saying that if I make a Patreon, make it about knitting, and then the same people who would just form a contract with me or maybe a consulting contract with me to do this or something like that, instead of doing that, they just gave that same money to the Patreon. I think you can see where I'm going here, where this is completely arbitrary, and it's very unfortunate to hear you echoing the arguments that were used against trying to take your Patreon. But no, I don't see how I have to answer the question. I guess it's not that I don't have to answer the question. I just don't understand how I have to answer for, oh, are you allowed to have a contract? Are you allowed to, I thought we championed contracts. Like, I genuinely don't understand.
Okay, well, good thing that isn't what I said, but I believe my question stands on its own and I don't wish to bicker.